Hi, Kwame.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm managing.
Yeah, I can see that. So, are we having like a combined session for different cohorts?
Yes. So part of cohort 2 will be joining you, and part of cohort 2 will join the tomorrow's session.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
You guys ready?
Yeah, I think so. From my
Okay.
end, we're fine.
Cool. I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Have you been able to share the link for the YouTube live?
That's what I'm trying to do now. I just got my phone to send to the WhatsApp. So for those who are not joining the sessions, they can join the YouTube live, right? Those who are not present today.
Yes, they can join if they want.
Okay. Kwame, I wanted to say something very quickly. Yeah, so I received I just received a communication from Elizabeth Kamire, but it says that somebody else is typing on her behalf. She's been hospitalized.
Somebody else is what?
She's been hospitalized. Somebody else is writing on her behalf.
Writing how?
Like testing me using her number, so that I can I can relay the information to the facilitators. So I'm going to be writing a very quick email about it. I've already told Winnie she might not be able to submit her final assignments now.
What's wrong with that? You have an idea?
They didn't give me details. They only sent me pictures of her on sick bed.
Okay. Can you remind me? Do you have a number?
Let me see if I still have the one I have. I don't know if it is still functional, but I do have it.
All right. Share it with me so I can give her a call.
Yeah, I just texted you. Maybe you can confirm if it is still the same number. Then I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, guys. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kwame.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Kwame.
Welcome to your Welcome to your poster fair, mini poster fair for that matter. And we're going to get in it very quickly. And it quick, if any of you remember it, you can think of that. That was going to be could be bigger if we have lots of times and indecisions about a number of things. We're having it online and in a way. Our guest today is, I don't think he's in yet.
Kwame.
I don't know if they'll be joining us. A member.
Kwame, yes. I don't know if I'm the only person, but I'm kind of struggling to hear you.
What's the problem?
Same here. I don't know.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Same.
Probably because I'm doing too many things at once. Let's try.
Mr. Host.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
That's better?
Yeah, much better.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so we're quickly going to get off because we don't have a lot of time. So you can see my, let's share my screen.
Quick question. I mean, are we?
Were you able to get some people who wanted to join the YouTube live audience?
I shared with the class.
You shared with the class?
Yes, sir.
I think that doesn't seem to be working, but let me try again. Copy streaming link. All right. If you can check to see if someone says it's not working, you can share this with them again. But that's the link we're using. All right. So just a brief introduction. I'm playing Eminata's video. I thought that will be a nice way to start. So we'll all quickly watch this video and then group one. So we'll go in the order of the groups. So group 1 to group 6, and then we'll move on to cohort 2, group 1 to 3. So we'll start, unless there are any questions, we'll start by watching this short video.
There exist many powerful women. Mothers are powerful. Big sisters are powerful in protecting us or leading the way for us. Every woman has a power unique to her. Sure to protect.
Can you hear what's playing in the background?
There exist many power from
Yes,
the Ashanti.
we can.
Loud and clear?
Yes.
Oh.
She was a weak. There exist many powerful women. Mothers are powerful. Big sisters are powerful in protecting us or leading the way for us. Every woman has a power unique to her, but there exists women who, due to circumstances and the strength of their beliefs and their courage and their determination, becomes heroes and wears several capes. And of those women is Ya Santwa from the Ashantis. There exist many powerful women. Mothers are powerful. Big sisters are powerful in protecting us or leading the way for us. Every woman
Wait, am I the only one?
No, you're not. I was even wondering if
No.
it was side because oh my gosh, even mine is like bugging.
I feel like it's from Comics End because automatically I'm the host.
Yeah, it's I think so too.
So
I think
like
it's
we can end it all now and leave. Maybe.
So please, we want those GPAs looking proper.
If we can all take responsibility for it, I have the end button. I can just click. Like boom.
Thank
we're
God
done.
now my computer is working. It was bugging so much, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Oh my gosh, what is going on? And then my phone is at 5%, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Please.
Let me remind myself that this is recorded and just shush.
It's actually being recorded.
Yep.
And it's live on YouTube. It's live on YouTube as well. So.
Huh? Okay, bye.
No, I'm serious. I can see everything from here.
What's interesting in there? Who's saying hi to us? Let us say hi back.
I'm not saying that. Like.
Right.
Seems we're having a lot of issues with the so we might as well just dig in and start. So group one, cohort one, group one.
You're not. I was even wondering because oh my.
What happened?
Yes, I'm trying to share my screen, sir.
Did I hear cohort one?
Cohort one.
Yes,
Cohort one.
cohort two.
Victor, we're not ready. We're cohort two. We're cohort two.
Hey, sorry. Drink some water, Victor.
Guys. Group one, cohort one.
The energy is so high.
What's going on?
Like somebody is playing something that was being said before.
And it's live on YouTube. It's live on YouTube as well. So
I think it's coming from Usman. Usman, you're not muted.
no, it's not from here.
It's from. Sounds like it's from there.
I can hear myself, but it's not from my end. I was muted.
Okay. Well,
All right. So I guess we found someone who was responsible. All right, group one of cohort one, are you ready? Rita, Carl, Jermaine.
Yes, sir, we are ready. Let me check if all the group members are here first.
No, this is not the time to do that. If you're not doing that, we'll move on to the next group.
Okay. No, I think they're here, sir. They're here.
It's happening again, the volume thing.
I think somebody's having an additional device that is repeating what is being said here.
Someone is watching the live YouTube video.
Yeah.
All right. Group one, can you guys share your screen so that we start? All right, guys. So Mr. Kayode has joined us, and he's part of the panelists, and he will be asking you some of the questions after the presentation. You're welcome, Mr. Kayode.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
If any of you is watching the YouTube live, please turn it off and be here. All right, thank you. So you have 7 minutes, and your 7 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and good day. My name is Aridola Lawidi George, and I'm a second-year student with my fellow peer members by the names of Rita Ashabar, Jermaine Uzai Senga, and Carl Gomez. And we're here to talk on the assessment of the capacity and visibility of the aging network business in Rwanda. So basically, AG network means the agricultural network, which started in November 2018 and was established both in Rwanda and Zambia. And they aim to become the leading agricultural hub in Africa, providing practical and relevant training to modern agricultural practices, marketable and agribusiness skills to the youths and the farmers, both in Zambia and also in Rwanda, and also to access microloans to finance bankable projects at affordable interest rates. The founders and the stakeholders of the AG network are fellow year 3 students who started this business, and they aim to future. Thank you.
So for our method use, we collected primary and secondary research. So online interviews were conducted through Zoom calls, WhatsApp chats, and voice notes. The population is 11 with a sample size of 10 members of the staff, and 5 people in our sample size responded. So all thanks to this, we were able to successfully collect data. Thank you very much.
So basically, the aim of this particular research is to gain more knowledge about the current happenings of aging network, measure the capacity and visibility, and how to improve in their current status. As we go up, the results that we got from the analysis and from the research that we conducted, basically the current capacity of aging network, as we said earlier, there are like 10 major stakeholders of the aging network. And the agricultural activities are at an average of 3.4, which is proportional to 33%, according to the information we got from the staff. And efforts have not been placed in attracting more people to come into their startup yet, because they're still at crucial stages and they're still trying to establish and create some firm structures. With regards to the brand visibility, there is limited business exposure. That is one of the main problems that we identified, because, for example, we asked about the current happenings, and some of the staffs gave different answers. For example, when they had their campaigns, what happened? They said some of them were like, okay, there are no campaigns yet. Others said there have been over 4 campaigns. Others said there has only been 1. So we could clearly see that the team in itself is still having a lot of lapses. And that is one of the things that we plan on tackling and suggesting and helping them in order for them to rebrand and enhance their current business. Because so far, they have not been able to kick off on the right foot. Thank you very much.
Okay, and the conclusion, we conclude that they started recruiting the specialists in agriculture, and also recommended that they should have experts and also cooperate within the staff area, because they are confused and they don't know what is taking place because they give different answers. Thank you so much. Any question?
All right, thank you. Mr. Coyote, any questions?
Hi guys, thank you for your presentation. Just wanted to ask 2 questions. So first and foremost, you talked about lapses and you talked about disparities in the numbers that you got from the people you interviewed, so to speak. The first question will be, first and foremost, how do you think you can tackle such disparity to ensure that you have, something that you could actually bank on and, rely on to start with? And the second question is, what are the kind of issues you kind of saw around kicking off, on the right foot, like you mentioned earlier on while explaining?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. I'll answer the first one, and my colleagues will answer the next. So we advise them to partner with other organizations that have experience. For example, we recommended 1 acre that has been there for so long and is still sustainable. So we also advise them to work on their project proposal, so that it can interest the people who fund agriculture. Thank you.
Yeah, and to also step in from Rita. So basically, from what we observed, one of their main struggles, because initially we wanted to focus mainly on funding, but then, like, for example, when you talked about the gaps, they made mention of the fact that because they're still a startup, they're still new, it is really hard. They don't have the credibility that is needed for them to push their business. So in order to get funds, they mostly have to take it from their pockets or probably get loans or of some sort until they can do what they want to do, like per se, they want to go to the villages and try to interact with the small scale farmers. They try to do that, and then in turn they would repay it. But then one of the stakeholders, the co-founders, said it's not sustainable. So I feel like one of the major ways they can be able to properly establish themselves is by rebranding themselves. they should put themselves out there, because currently their marketing stats is really low. They don't have enough people on board. Man labor is really hard for them. So they have to rebrand their whole structure and find a much more feasible way. One of the advices we also give them was to start small, not just try to go big, like, okay, I want to give this to these people, or I want to establish this here. They have to start small by trying to gain funds, get a name, a house name that they can be able to say that when someone asks for AG Network, it's relatable. Everyone knows AG Network. Invest more in their marketing and get more people on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I have just one final question. I'm curious as to how you define your sample size. How did you, come about your sample size? Just some time on that, please.
Sorry, please come again.
How did you come about your sample size? How do you determine your sample size?
Okay, we looked at the number of the staff members, and we issued to them, they were 10, and we issued to them the questionnaires, but 5 of them, they're the ones who are able to respond. So we're looking at the whole stakeholders in the AG network business.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So I think we'll move on to group 2 now.
Mr. Kwame, can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. All right, so your 7 minutes starts now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, can you? Yes. So our study or research was investigating the impact of Kigali on the Diego motor riders operations and their earnings. So as we all know, the Rwandan government officially commenced a lockdown on the 22nd of March of 2020 and partially lifted it on the 4th of May of 2020 as well. But citizens were asked to follow measures to reduce the risk, hand washing, avoiding handshakes, public gatherings such as bars, gyms, churches, and schools, which was prohibiting which was prohibiting motorbikes usage as a way of transport. So this really impacted them highly, which is why we decided to have our research with them to know how they managed to navigate themselves during that time. Then during the period and after the lockdown. So yeah, I'll let my group members go ahead with it.
Research aims to understand the effect of interaction where we done by research assistant that was used to collect and use the data collection.
Come again, Mr. Kwame.
Your connection is bad, so we might want to let the next person continue.
Okay, let me chip in. So basically, we aim to understand what was the effect of these lockdowns on these Diego motor riders, and especially we try to focus on what their earnings and their operations as people in Kigali. So the methods we make sure we add face-to-face interviews with them in various areas within Kigali city. To be specific, Rimera Roundabout Park, let's say Kachiru and other places within Kigali. And a Google form was used as a questionnaire. Basically, in as much as these Yego motor riders cannot understand the Google form, so we are like the ones completing the Google form from them based on the response they're giving. And the data collection process was from the 17th to the 22nd April this year, 2021. And just like what we've said, the research was focusing on what Yego motor riders that are operating in Kigali. And we were able to get a total number of 22 response from these Yego motor riders. So as you can see, the result basically, we are trying to compare and contrast between what were the status for these Yego motor riders before, during, and post-lockdown, which is also known as after lockdown. So as you can see, some of the findings we were able to get to put together, was that 90% of these Yego motor riders experience significant change in their earnings and that of their daily operations. As we can see from the chart above, it shows that their number of hours of operating reduced during the lockdown and even post-lockdown. Same goes for their daily earnings. And going forward, 83% of them confirmed that they were not having alternative source during this period, of which 85% of them said the only coping mechanism they were able to make sure that they keep themselves is by family support, savings, and fuel deliveries, because we meant to understand that Yego Moto as a company provide delivery during this service just to get few of them operating. And for family support, some of them have wives who were having shops at their houses, which serve as coping mechanism for them. And finally was that during the lockdown period, 80% of them confirmed that their average earning is around 4,500 Rwandan francs. So after these findings, we as an individual, we can clearly see that there was a significant negative impact of this lockdown on the Yego motor riders, in as much as they were not in a position to earn more and their operations, their working hour reduced as of that. So we recommend for the management of the Yego Motor company to create a system wherein there will be an emergency fund for future unforeseen events, wherein maybe they will have health issues. Even as of now, let's say it's not COVID-19. Let's say in the future, there's a Yego motor rider, particularly who have other issues. We recommend for them to have emergency fund, which will chip in whenever something like this or unpredicted incidents happen in the future. So these were our findings, and this was PR Group 2 from Court 1, and the group members are Abubakar Barry, Isabella Mbazi, and Angelique Ndua. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Group 2. Any questions, Mr. Kayode?
Thank you, Group 2. I must say that I like your area of focus to start with. However, the first thing I noticed about it is I'm kind of struggling to see your screenshot. I'm really struggling to see the details what you have on there. It looks really cramped. So that's on your presentation first and foremost. It looks really cramped. I like the introduction I think Isabella gave. I mean, that was really, really good to start with. But looking at your presentation right now, I really am struggling to see what it is. So first and foremost, it would be good to take note of making it more visible. If you've done a good job, it's good to also ensure that you have your good job very visible. That's the second thing. The third thing I want to say also is, while Barry was making a couple of comments, I noticed that first and foremost, you said something around, and I can see right here under your findings, you said earnings changed, right? You did not specify if, change could have been that the earnings got better. I know that you are implying, because at some point you said the number of hours reduced, but at no point you do mention that their earnings dropped or reduced in that sense. You just said changed. A change can be positive or negative, right? It's good to tie it together in that sense. And also notice that you mentioned at some point that, that the average earning was 4,500 Rwanda francs, but you did not state. Is that per day, per week, per month? Those details are good to help give a proper underscore of what you're trying to talk about, and it helps us understand the perspective you're trying to achieve to start with. So yeah, so I think that you had a good case, but I think that you would have done a lot better in trying to tie all the ends together to make your point very punchy. And I think that your presentation could have actually looked a lot better. I mean, you could be a lot visually more representative in that perspective. And I'm curious about it. What was your how did you achieve your sample population? How did you get people you spoke with, right? Did you just randomly speak with Yego riders at one location, or how did you do it? Or did you just walk around in different locations? Just just run me through how you did that, and maybe you could give 1 or 2 comments on the things I read earlier on. Thank you.
So yeah, to start with the first comment, I stated it that daily earnings, and it's even on the document, the average daily earnings was 4,500 Rwandan francs during the lockdown. And also in terms of the sample size, I stated it that we make sure that we get responses from various parts of Kigali. Remember, Rumega roundabout, Kisimenti roundabout was one of them, Chimironko was one of them, Kachugo was one of them, to make sure that we have Viego motor riders that are operating in different areas within Kigali. That's how we go about choosing the sample size. Thank you.
Also, to add to that, I have to clarify that getting some samples was not easy, mostly when it comes to talking to these these Viego motor riders, because most of them expect something from you after. When you come to them saying that you're going to ask them a couple of questions, they think something is going to come after. When you're just there, like, no, this is for research, it's a whole other thing. So getting these sample sizes, if I'm being honest with you, you had to fall on someone who's kind and willing to let you understand, answer whatever question you had to ask.
Welcome back. You broke off for a bit there, but I think we get the point. So as Mr. Kayode commented, your work looks very cramped. And like I said to you in the comments on the poster earlier, you guys have done a lot of work, and it's a very valuable work that you're doing. But then you cram everything in together. Like these big icons, the icons are not as important as the message you're trying to put across, right? Your introduction has a lot of line spacing in the text. You can reduce the line spacing and still have a lot of space in there. So that's one of the problems, the key things that makes your work. The content is very nice, but it's very difficult to look at. All right, but well done and thank you. Group 3.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Oh.
Yes, we can, Josephine.
Thank you. So unfortunately, my peer members are not here, so I'm representing them. Nusura, could you please share?
Josephine.
Hi.
We cannot go ahead if your group members are not here.
Ooh.
Is there a reason why they are not here?
One of my peer members said she can't, like, she's not able to be present right now because she's not in a good place to. I think she doesn't have connection, but I haven't heard from my other 2 peer members.
That is very odd. Josephine, that is very odd. We can't, I don't know how we're going to proceed without any of them present.
I mean, I could just present.
We'll go ahead, you present, but I'm going to have to speak to your group later on Friday. So I need to speak to them, the whole group. I need to speak to all of you on Friday.
Okay.
Right.
I'll inform them.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hi guys, thank you so much. Good afternoon or evening. And my name, it's such an honor to be here with you all. My name is Josephine Brown, and I am the representative for Peer Group 3. Our research is actually titled Examining the Effects of the COVID-19 Pandemic on Customer and Potential Customer Interaction with Brainstorm Africa content. Now, one way or another, the COVID-19 pandemic has actually affected all of our lives. I mean, we are having a virtual conference. So one way or another, we've all been affected by the pandemic, and so have many businesses. Now, Brainstorm Africa is a digital branding and design business that helps to have an influence on brands that want to make an impact. And with an estimated 1 million social media users, Brainstorm Africa has actually harnessed this advantage to reach out to many people worldwide. So the main aim of our research actually is to understand the influence of the COVID-19 pandemic on client behavior and interaction. And this from this data, the company would actually be able to design their content based on these current needs. So our method of of research, first of all, we created the survey questionnaire via Google Forms with a sample size of 100 people. We used voluntary response sampling and sent out our forms and we actually received 91 responses. And we used descriptive and inferential and content analysis actually to analyze our data, which we've represented in charts, as you can see. And you can see from the images at the side, those are, the social media pages of Brainstorm Africa. They actually have a podcast called Brainy Day, where they interview, various brand designers, various business owners, and influencers as well, just to help people with their business. So in our first diagram, we compared, different responses to see how they related with each other. So in the first chart, we compared whether respondents would apply tips from the business to whether or not they own the business. And as you can see from the diagram, majority of our respondents actually do not own businesses, but many of them, whether they own or they don't own, are most likely to apply the business tips they've seen on the social media pages of Brainstorm Africa. Now, in our second diagram, we compare the type of content respondents enjoy, especially influenced by the pandemic. We compare it with whether or not they've actually heard of Brainstorm Africa. And as you can see, lifestyle and entertainment is actually the most popular preferred content of our respondents, and an almost equal number of people have actually heard or not heard of Brainstorm Africa. Okay, so for our conclusion, we actually came to the conclusion that, from our chart and the data that we collected, we actually concluded that we had about 40.7% of our respondents, mainly Instagram users. 29.7% of them actually preferred Twitter, and then the remainder preferred different social media platforms, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Facebook, and all that. And Brainstorm actually is mostly, built on Instagram. So it means that they are doing the right thing, going forward. So they just need to continue being consistent. Secondly, from our chart that says, lifestyle is actually the most preferred social media content of our respondents, we also came to the conclusion that, occasional collaboration with lifestyle and content creators would actually appeal to a larger audience, especially since they are looking to gauge and businesses and people who want to make an influence with their brands, right? So, occasional collaboration with such people would actually help expand their territory. And from our data, also 41.8% often interact with social media, and then 28.6% interact very, very often. That's mean that, this is in comparison to like daily use and all that, indicating that, Brainstorm is most likely to reach content. They are most likely actually to reach a lot of people. And then with interaction, we also meant like, how often do they share posts? How often do they like posts and also, apply to themselves? So Brainstorm is actually going to be able to reach many people and attract a larger customer base, because there's a lot of people that actually interact with social media content, whether they see it helpful or funny or anything. So thank you so much for your time. And I'd like to take questions now.
All right. Thank you, Josephine. Mr. Kayode.
Hi, Josephine. First and foremost, I'd like to say well done. So far, so good. I think this has been the best slide I've seen. I mean, of all those ones I've seen today. I'll start by saying, first and foremost, I like the fact that your visuals are very communicative. I like that it's, well, there are a lot of more words, but you did a lot of, tying it together. First and foremost, visuals are good. You were able to properly explain the rationale, which I was looking for most of the guys that spoke earlier on. You explained rationale around what you were talking about, and then you further broke down how you went around your sample, right? You went around how you talked about, how you analyzed your data, for example, and you had a very high rate, which is 91%, for example, and that's something that you can bank on and say that this is true from what you assess in that sense. I like overall how you're able to tie everything together, so that's really good. One giveaway or takeaway I have for you is the fact that your topic states that you're examining the effect of COVID-19 on the customer and all that interaction in that engagement. I would have loved to see if you had any data or anything at all or any feedback as regards what happened pre-COVID, for example. Say, for example, what were the interaction like before COVID? Because that exactly would be how you would be able to really tell the effect, because if you have something that happened before and what has happened during COVID or after COVID, then you would be able to properly, objectively measure and tell us what has happened. Was did interaction get better? Did it get worse? And that would have been a different angle, to put more light to it. But overall, well done, and thank you for very insightful, presentation. You're the only one, so you literally had the energy from everybody together, and that's good. Well done.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Kwame, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Mr. Gawide, you broke off for a bit there.
Okay, did you hear me, Josephine?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, Kwame, what part do you need to hear me from? I was trying to say
I think just the last bit.
Okay, the last part. So I said the only takeaway I have for her is that, I would have appreciated that you would have, helped us understand better if she had any measurement of what the interaction was like pre-COVID, right? Because she's measuring the effect of the pandemic on the customer interaction, right? It would be good to have an idea of what the data was like, what the interaction was like pre-COVID, and then what it is now during or after COVID. And so that would help us indicate what the engagement was like, whether there was an improvement in engagement, or whether it went bad, or whether, whatever it is. So that would have been the angle that would have, brought more light to it. And that's the feedback I gave her. Overall, I said she did a good job, and I said that she put on the energy from all our team members, to perform in that perspective. Did you hear me now, Kwame?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So Josephine, thank you for your presentation and for carrying your group on your shoulders. I look forward to seeing this work in print when you're giving it out to Brainstorm Africa. Thank you. Next group 4.
So can you let me present?
Sure.
All right, group 4, your 7 minutes starts now.
All right, group 4, your 7 minutes.
Okay, thank you everyone. Welcome to group 4. We are studying about the startup ventures. We are studying about the influence of customer needs on a sustainable marketing strategy for startup ventures. Our case study is Abinchi Kitchen, based here in Kigali, Rwanda. So if you are an LU student, you probably have heard of Abinchi Kitchen, because it was started by 2 LA students named Hassanitu Baho and Orowuli. So it is a startup specializing in sales and promotion of West African food. It is based here in Kigali, Rwanda. Like any other company, we need sustainable marketing strategies in this 21st century. So our main aims and objectives of our study was to understand the needs and characteristics of potential customers of Abinchi in order to develop an effective marketing strategy. Thank you.
Well, now we are going to talk about, we're going to discuss about our methods used. So in order to carry out our research, we have used certain methods to collect and analyze our data. And the first one, we send a questionnaire using Google Form to several people, and the majority of the people who are answered the question were from ALU and were from ALU students living in Kigali here. And the second method was we made an online interview with the different founders of Abinchi Kitchen in order to understand the operation system of Abinchi. So our sample size was 62 people, and 50 of the participants were ALU students, and most of them at ALU, and the sample size was 62.
Good evening. So I'm quickly going to take you through the results of our research. So first of all, from our research, we noticed that 55% of our participants were in the low income range, 40% were middle income earners, and 5% were high income learners. Also, we tried to understand what platforms our participants preferred using when ordering foods online. First, we had 1.6% of participants who say they do not order food online, followed by Facebook. Then we had Rush Food, which is also an online ordering platform. We had Instagram, and the highest was Vumba Vumba at 72.6%. Then we further went to analyze the relationship between the income levels and the platform preferred online ordering platform. And we came to notice that Vumba Vumba, as we have already identified, which was the highest preferred platform, had most of the participants who preferred using Vumba Vumba were high income earners, followed by the middle income earners and then the low income earners.
Thank you so much, Oluchi. And yeah, now moving on to our conclusion. From the research that we had done, we've seen that most of the potential customers and already customers prefer to engage and use food service companies that are already established. A good example is Vumba Vumba, as it's been explained. And moving on, we would like to give 3 recommendations to Abinchi Kitchen. One is partner with Vumba Vumba to offer their food, because as you can see, most of the participants are using Vumba Vumba currently. So if you partner with them, it's going to be a great chance for your business to get more customers who will be ordering your food. Secondly, promote your venture on social media, especially Facebook and Instagram, by making sure you create page, and our team is willing to help with that. And thirdly, we would like to recommend that you expand your menu by adding other dishes from different parts of the continent, for example, East African and West African and Southern African, because as you can know, ALU is a big school and students are from different parts of the continent. It would be great if you can add in some other tests from different parts of the continent. And that's it. Thank you so much. We would welcome questions now.
All right. Thank you so much, Group 4. First and foremost, I like the visuals of your presentation. Maybe a general comment for everybody so far. Maybe we should consider, rather than use portraits, consider using landscape formats. I think that would help, give you more space, especially when you're presenting, give you more space and make it a lot beautiful. I can imagine how this would have looked if you had used the landscape formats, right? That's a good thing to start with. First and foremost, I like the fact that your data gathering, you consider different layers. So first and foremost, you talked about how you did questionnaires and you spoke with founders as well. It's always critical that you have different perspectives and views, and that will give you an overall perspective that will be a good direction to start with. So that's a good thing I think you did. I did not capture, I know that maybe you mentioned, but you said something about your sample size being 62. I do not know how many people, how many feedback did you get? How many of the people that you reached out to give you feedback? Just to understand how many percent you had. That's a question maybe you probably answered at some point. I mean, obviously you mentioned that as well. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is I was looking out for, you talked about your need. Can you scroll to the topic again? Right. To the top, yes. You mentioned about the influence of customer needs, right? And then that's what you're focusing on, right? If it's a customer needs on what's happening in that case. I like your recommendations, but I wanted to understand what customer needs you noticed influence their decisions in that perspective, right? I know you talked about, if you're partnered with popular companies, it would help, and all that. If you had a good menu with variety and all that, it would help. But which of the customer needs? What customer needs specifically do you think helped tie into those recommendations actually talked about, right? If you get my question. So first of all, around your sample size, 62 or 50 or what did you have, and then what your needs were like, if you can put some on that. But overall, I think, like I said, it's a good position. Personally, I like visuals, so I like the fact that you played with a neutral color, black and white, and that made it very mature. Looks really good. Well done.
Okay, thank you, sir. So about the sample size, we just made some mathematics, and we are consider like the confidence level is 95%, and the mentioned error is 5%. The population proportion was 50%. We got 60 answer. We got 60 no 70 responses, but our population size was 70. So that's mean like with 17 means the people who are ordering, I consider the people who are ordering a week is 70 people are ordering a week. We got 80 responses, and the sample size made based on this on this calculation, the sample size was 60 people, and then we just use 62 as a sample size. And most of the people were from ALU. Most of the people were from ALU students, and there's also from ALU students and also from different part of Africa, Southern East Africa and West Africa also.
To answer the second question, thank you, Joseph. The second question about the need and in relation to how does it affect the strategy? So the need that we found out was that even though the aim and the Abinchi wanted to focus on West African food, there's customers who are willing to buy food. There's even West Africans who are willing to buy food from them that doesn't necessarily have to be West African. That's how we came with a recommendation of why don't you add other cuisine like East African, Southern African, that would have helped you. Like instead of focusing on only West African, then add other cuisine. So we found that there's a need for other food from the other parts of the continent too.
Also, quickly to add to what Nora has said, another need that we're trying to meet is convenience. So we saw that the participants, most of which were already customers, we kind of looked at the social media platforms that were convenient for them to order with, and we're trying to make Abinchi move towards that, because customers are always looking for convenience and affordability, which is why we looked at their income rate and what platforms are most convenient for them to come up with the strategy that we came up with.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. I have only one question, and then we'll move on to the next group. By your income level classification, what do you mean by high, medium, and low? What income range are you using to classify?
Would you mind repeating the question again, please?
The question is, you have income levels, high, medium, and low. What are the income ranges that you're using to classify those?
Joseph, do we have that written?
Okay, so on the Google form, we just ask the people like, okay, based on their revenue, based on the revenue and also the income, which range do you think you are in? So the people are saying like based on their revenue, they're saying their high level income or low or middle. We didn't specify like amount of money that you have, like based on your own revenue per month.
Okay, so basically you didn't ask about the actual revenue, you just asked them to classify themselves as low, medium, and high.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well done, next group. All right. Your 7 minutes starts now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kwame. Good afternoon, Mr. Kolade. I hope I'm saying it right. So we're group 5. I'm Tilly Angie Brown, and I have with me Sheila Morego, Tracy Kamati, and Gideon Murenzi. So we'll get straight into it. In March 2020, we all witnessed a swift and sudden turn of events. We had to pack our bags and return to our homes. And we had to understand and accept that we would no longer attend classes our normal way or interact with our facilitators and classmates how we used to. The African Leadership University, like many other universities on the globe, came to the conclusion that the best way to prevent the spread of the coronavirus and ensure safety of their students, facilitators, and staff was to cease all sorts of physical interactions and adapt to e-learning platforms and methods. Even today, May 5th, 2021, we are here and present via Zoom and online platform because of the same reasons. Our concerns as Group 5 lies in how the switch from in-person to online learning has affected students and facilitators' relationships, academic experiences, and learning outcomes at ALU.
So the targeted participants of the study were students from year 1 to year 3 and faculty members that facilitated the 4-degree programs and the leadership core year at the African Leadership University, which gave us a sample size of 223 students and 59 faculty members, which were taken from the total number of 1,200 students in total of the African Leadership University and the 74 faculty members, with a margin of error of 5% and a confidence level of 95%. So questionnaires were sent to the participants via Google form with consent forms attached to them. We met several challenges in collecting data as students and facilitators were reluctant to fill out the Google form questionnaires, a reason being the lack of willingness to complete the form as it seemed time consuming to them. However, we were able to collect accounts from 17 faculty members and 32 students, in which we got the following insightful findings.
Thank you. On our research findings, we found that 52.9% of facilitators expressed they want to continue teaching online with the exception of it being a blended learning style, as they benefited from the advantages of in-person and online learning, which was the facilitators on whether they can continue online learning. And on the interest of obtaining the rest of degree online to the side of students, they showed a high disinterest in the continuation of online learning, which we also observed that, and also we found that students were found to be less active and engaging during on their online classes or engaging with their online contents, and also being home provided many distractions during their online learning process, which has also showed that in-person learning brought a social aspect that is important to learning dynamics, interactions, and experiences between facilitators to facilitators, facilitators to students, and students to students. Yeah, those were our research findings. We can continue to our conclusion. Thank you.
So, hi. This is our conclusion based on the research we carried out. Most of the facilitators did not have a hard time shifting from in-person to online because most of them were actually new to teaching or new to the university, and they would like to maintain the online learning paradigm. Most students had a hard time with the shift, and they cited laziness and lack of motivation from being locked up for long times for their poor performance in this online learning. Both students and facilitators have internet issues, or that's what people use for an excuse whenever they have something up or something is wrong or they can't attend classes. And also there was lack of correspondence between the students and the facilitators. Like if you have maybe a group meeting, you'll send out a message and no one will answer. And 10 out of the 17 facilitators complained of sending out emails and no one ever responding. So from the results, we suggest that ALU adapt a blended model as soon as possible, maybe in September, so that students have motivation to learn and work due to they lack the physical aspect of it, and also the facilitators. The blended model, we have 2 sessions per week per course. We'd like to have 1 session in person and 1 session online. Thank you.
You're done, right? Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Kayode.
Right. So, I mean, I wanted to ask a question to Kwame. I'm curious, how did they select their topics? Was it just on their own?
Yes, they chose their topics on their own.
Okay, so first and foremost, I wanted to say, I mean, if I was allowed to, this is the group I would like to give a gift to. Because first and foremost, I like how relatable their topic is to start with. Not only that, I also like how you guys are able to present. From what's her name, Tilly, right? I like how she started out with this one. There was a very strong, confident look in the team while they were presenting all through. That's something I wanted to comment to start with, right? From the introduction, you went into the details and explained the rationale behind it. I made it very relatable. Like I literally felt the introduction to start with. I like how you went into details to explain when I think Sheila was talking about the data, how you went in. The research sounded really solid. You gave me the total sample size of the population, and then you gave me the population of people you actually, got feedback from to start with, which was a really, really good thing to start with, because data and research is the crux of any finding you're bringing forth to that. So that's really credible. I'll recommend you guys for that as well. And I also see how you guys were able to tie everything together. So, I mean, you properly were able to link from the introduction all the way to the bottom. It was really, really, really well articulated. I like that. I just wanted to let you guys know that it was a good presentation. But my comment generally to everyone still is that I would have appreciated or preferred if you used landscape formats. I can imagine if you had this on landscape format, for example, and you would have been really mind blowing. So well done to you guys. Don't worry, I see your comments. Don't worry, I'll reach out through comment, and I'll obviously send out the gift to these 4 guys in this team. So well done, congratulations again. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kayode. As I mentioned to your team way before, this is a very, very important research that you're conducting, and I'll even share it with senior academic team for sort of like an opinion for them to hear what this research has to say about the move to online studies. My biggest challenge for your work is I would have hoped your sample size would be bigger, but like you expressed, usually when you send these things to people, it's very difficult for them to respond. You literally have to knock on doors to get any response. But so far, well done. All right, next.
Next. Attached to that, I'm actually personally looking forward to learning more about this research because this is an area that also directly impacts the work I do as well. So it's critical if I can learn about your research. So look forward to learning from what you have as well. Thank you. Well done.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kayode. The call has been hacked. By who? Usman. Group 6. If you can't hear me, my sign language is saying group 6, next group.
Shida, can you like remove your screen so that you can represent?
All right, so your 7 minutes starts. Do you want to show us the whole presentation? So we can see the left and right edges at margins at least. All right, so your 7 minutes starts now.
Hello everyone. So we're group 6, and our research topic was working on IMATA initiative. IMATA initiative is a non-governmental organization which currently works to reduce period poverty of girls. It currently functions by raising awareness of sexual reproductive health, education, and rights, by advocating on how girls should not be ashamed of their periods, and basically offering pads also through pledging and getting funds from different organizations. However, IMATA initiative has been dealing with
when one of your colleagues break off, the other.
Can you hear me?
Where it ended.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Joe.
Yes, IMATA initiative. IMATA initiative has a hard time educating both boys and girls on sexual reproductive health. So our research aims to find ways in which they can engage both boys and girls on sexual reproductive health.
Yes, thank you, Joel. So part of our objectives that we had for our research was to understand what keeps boys and girls from sexual and reproductive health and rights. We wanted to find out why they can't access such information from their different societies and surroundings. And then the second objective that we had was to find strategies to educate both boys and girls on sexual reproductive health and rights. Because we realized that the ladies are not the only ones that need the information, because we're not in this world alone. The boys need to understand why the information, access to this information is necessary as well. So the research method that we used was qualitative research, which relies on data obtained by first-hand observations through interviews, questionnaires, focus groups, and also participation, and so much more. So we had a virtual interview with the iMatter Initiative Marketing Manager, which is who is Isabella Mbamazi, who is one of our classmates. Thank you so much for that. We also had some data that was collected through Google Forms that were sent out to different people. A sample of 20 interviews was collected. And then last but not least, we also got some information from forms that were sent to different boys and girls as students that were aged from 16 to 21. And so we also used the iMatter Initiative Instagram that we collected different information from there, as well as that image that you can see on the screen. Thank you.
So after passing all those research methods and getting answers, we found that 50% of the boys and girls, which is a bigger percentage, don't know about sexual reproductive health because they are unaware, and 40% of them because of ignorance, and the rest of 10% don't know SRHR because of their cultural beliefs, maybe because they feel it's a taboo to talk about such things. So we also asked the interviewers what kind of information they need on sexual reproductive health. Of course, information that they don't have. With a percentage of 60%, they said that they need more info on sex education. So our group also showed interest and wished to know more on how these girls and boys would like to be engaged and get all the information they need and which type of platforms they prefer and feel like they are easy for them. Through our sample size, more of them showed interest and felt like the use of short movies on SRHR would be effective, among others, which are hearing podcasts, testimonies, interviews, and more. Thank you.
Okay, so now all of these results indicated to us that over 91% did not know about iMatter initiative. And this also led to an understanding that was because sexual and reproductive health rights have been made much more accessible to girls more than they've been made to boys, which is a problem in its essence because it further widens the gaps of accessibility to such information, which is crucial, especially in the times that we are in. And therefore, what we would like to recommend to iMatter Initiative is to consider collaborating with NGOs who have already done work in the particular field. An example would be collaborating with UNEFPA's Dreams Tina Abantu Abasha program, who have already designed a gender-inclusive SRHR curriculum that they make accessible to different organizations and individuals who would like to further on spread the knowledge on SRHR and raise awareness. We would also encourage them to further on utilize social media and start social media awareness campaigns. They could do so in the form of creating interactive videos that provide information on sexual and reproductive health rights. And this is to make sure that they reach a wider audience and they further fulfill their mission in terms of educating. And now also moving on, we would also like to encourage them to consider rebranding. And this is because they need to reintroduce themselves as a safe space to both boys and girls, and not just particularly girls, if they would like to encourage more boys to approach them and receive this kind of information that they would like to make accessible to young people. And with that, we would like to conclude our presentation and welcome any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kayode.
Right, thank you. This is a topic I also am very interested in as well. I like the choice of topic you have as well. It's very relatable and it's very practical to start with. Initially, I was struggling to hear you. Maybe it was internet connection. I was struggling to understand the rationale behind the research to start with. But I have just one or two questions. First and foremost, I wanted to understand. I mean, so I know that your age bracket was 16 to 21, if I can see rightly on the screen. I just wanted to understand what was the population size, right? I mean, I know you worked with iMatter, for example, but do you have a specific number of people you reached out to? I know you also mentioned you had 20 interviewers, but I did not see anywhere where where you mentioned the population size to start with, or perhaps what number of respondents or percentage of respondents from the population size to start with, because I believe that the research or the data is a critical part of how we will know that your finding is really valid in that sense. That's the first thing. The second thing is, while you were speaking earlier, you mentioned a couple of hitches around cultural differences and religious, beliefs and stuff as deterrent to how people perceive the need for reproductive health and all that to start with. And then you also gave some recommendations and talked about reaching a wider audience. The question is, what ways do you think the people who had cultural issues or religious issues can be addressed to ensure? Because I mean, if you do a wider audience, reach proposal or videos or whatever you want to do, and you don't address what the issues are, in what ways do you think you can actually even reach out to those people who you've been able to pinpoint to have the issues around how they perceive these subject matter to start with? That's the second question I'm asking you as well. Thank you. Well done.
Okay, thank you for the question. I'll respond to question 2, and one of my group members is going to respond to your first question. But to answer your second question, in terms of people who are excluded from such information in terms of cultural and religious beliefs, because we work with people, we don't believe in being intrusive in societies to enforce what we believe is of greater knowledge. Because I mean, every society has different reasons as to why they withhold certain information from the people that they are protecting within that society, irrespective of whether it's good for the adolescent girls and boys or not. And therefore, that's why social media has been a great tool, because as much as we cannot go into those communities because of different barriers of entry, social media allows them to, out of curiosity, because if even within those communities, young people can be curious enough to look up certain content that may be considered not good for them at a particular age, then they can be curious enough to come across educative information that teaches them around sexuality, contraceptives, because they are already curious. So the curiosity is there, and just because it's being stifled in their communities doesn't mean that they will not look for it in other ways. And therefore, social media is a great platform for us to address that barrier to entry, to say, even though we cannot access them in those communities because they may be heavily protected and heavily managed, we can do that on social media, where we have a higher chance of even just their friend coming across that information and therefore engaging with them at school the following day. And so that is what we are aiming for. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other question, Mr. Kayode?
There was a second question. Well done, Charlie. That was well articulated. But there was a second question around the sample size. I mean, how many people spoke with it?
Any of the group members can respond to that. Sample size. How did you come up with your sample? Come about your sample size?
Hello. So we came up with a sample size basically by having students in high school and in universities, asking them what they like, students around us in actually universities and high school. So we targeted people with the age from 16 to 21. Yeah.
Like how many people did you reach out to? What was the population size as well? How many people did you reach out to, for example? How many people responded to you in that perspective to help?
Oh yes, we reached out to 25 people and 20 people answered through Google Forms.
That's fine.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that will be the last group for cohort 1. Now we can have the first group, group 1 for cohort 2.
Can you stop sharing your screen? Okay. Cherry?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cherry. I am here representing cohort 2, group 1, and we were focusing on assessments of challenges encountered by Kiku customers in Kigali in order to improve the delivery services. The introduction is the background to the study, and the problem statement goes around Rwanda trying to flourish and digitizing its economy. And with Kiku being an e-commerce platform offering services of B2C, which is buyer to customer, Kiku suffers a lot of, sorry, please pardon that. Kiku still faces a lot of challenges when it comes to delivery of services and also satisfaction of their customers. I will hand it over to my group member, Victor, to carry on with the research aims.
This research aims to understand why people face challenges such as late delivery, which tend to as repercussions such as loss of revenue for the organization. Kennedy?
The methods we used, so the location.
Kofi, is there a possibility you guys can zoom into the posters so we can see the details?
Okay. Sorry. Can you see it?
You have to zoom in so we see the details. Now we're just looking at it very tiny on the screen.
I don't know how to do it.
So can you give me at least 1 minute? Let me be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, then I'll have to get the PDF format of it. I'm sorry. So Kofi?
Yes.
Better you stop sharing
sharing
your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Kwame, was that a bit helpful?
Yes, that's better.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
So the methods we used were, the location was Kigali, Rwanda, and qualitative and quantitative data was gathered through a Google form. The sample population was 75, and the demographics included both young males and females. I'll pass it on to my next one.
So about our key findings, we noticed that 95% of the research participants reported bad customer service, with over 79% of them complaining about the delivery time, and then 58% of them talked about the poor quality of products that were delivered. Talking about the alternative online delivery services that they were using, up to 28% of them told us that they use AliExpress. 39% of them talked about using Vuba as an alternative means of ordering online, and then 17% of them told us that they use Amazon as their alternative means of ordering online. So one key thing that was also highlighted was the fact that up to 60 or over 60% of them reported that they are very unlikely to recommend Kiku to another user. That's going to take us to our conclusions.
So with regards to the study that we conducted, looking at customers' experiences with regarding delivery time, using the Kiku platform, we concluded that most customers are unlikely to recommend Kiku to friends or any relatives because of their bad experience. And also, most people have only used the online platform once and would rather switch to other alternatives. So with all of these experiences, we're recommending that Kiko itself respect the delivery time. So because most time we also observe that customers in the end will have to go to the nearest office, which is at Wimera, to make complaints or to rather go for their product due to delays and all. And there is no communication. So we are recommended that Kiko also try to like link that to their operations in a way that they inform or let customers know, be aware of the delays and all, maybe through emails or text. And also, we're looking at Kiko incorporating feedback being given by customers in order to improve the delivery services. And also, it needs also to expand and bring in a lot of products so that people can have more options, or rather just make it more attractive. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. Just a heads up, we've been joined in by Dr. Faye Hoja, the academic director, as a panel member. So we'll be taking questions from him and Mr. Kayode until he excuses himself. Mr. Kayode.
Right. So thank you very much. I think group one, you think I covered two. So this, your research touches home with me because I've had an experience working with Jumia. I was one of the founding members of Jumia back in West Africa. So first and foremost, I can say that your research and your method around your research is very valid. I can see that the method you went through and how you went around your data and all that also is good as well to start with. Overall, I like the visuals of your presentation. However, I probably would have liked you to reduce the word in you have more visuals, and that's it, to create that balance. Of everyone who's it so far, I think your presentation is the most visual and the one that we can actually follow through by looking at the images and relate together in that perspective. So well done on that note to start with. I like how you were able to explain, and specifically how you were able to touch on, the finding rationale behind what you found, and then the findings in that perspective, and the recommendation as well. Actually, I'm looking forward to what feedback you get from people when you share this research with them, because it's really potent in that perspective. So yeah, well done to you guys. Again, just like I mentioned earlier on, it would just be good if you all had landscape format, for example, would give you more space to project your visuals in more. That's it from me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kaide. Any response?
Excuse me, Kwame, was there any question?
There wasn't a question, but any response from the group? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback.
All right.
The question I may have had for you, and I may stretch a little bit, right, because of my experience in that field, is what ways do you think they can work around to ensure they have better quality matching what customers are looking for example? So a customer wants item A, and then what happens most of the time is when they get it delivered, for example, in the case of what I ordered and what I got, it's a far cry traffic in that sense, right? What do you think I'm in that perspective? And as regards delivery, for example, Rwanda is not a place with traffic. If because in Lagos, where I'm from, I know that there's traffic, delivery guys have a lot of issues with traffic about food and all that. What would you say the main issues were? Because I know you mentioned delivery, slow delivery and all that, in that way. What would you think the bottlenecks and issues were or are as regards delivery chain in that perspective?
I'm sorry, I really didn't hear you clearly. So I would appreciate if Kwame can kind of summarize what you said so that we can hear.
Kwame, did you hear my questions? Was it my internet connection? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
you
can
can
hear
hear
you
you now.
much clearer now.
All right, so I said two questions. The first one was around how do you think they can bridge the gap in the quality of what I ordered versus what I got? What are the steps we can take to make sure that gap is bridged? That's something you raised as a recommendation. The second one is Kigali is not a place with a lot of traffic, for example, right? So you cannot blame traffic as reasons why delivery didn't happen on time. So what would you think the bottlenecks are as regards the delivery situation or the delivery, the entire supply chain of delivery, and what can they do to improve that?
Okay. Let me try to address the first question. I'm not really sure if I clearly got the second one, but for the first question about bridging the gap, I mean trying to match up the images that the people see that they get attracted to with what they actually get during the delivery time. I think the first thing they'll have to do is to make sure they focus on customer feedback, as we have already recommended. If you use Quickly or any other delivery application, you notice that customers are in most cases giving positive feedback about what is happening. That shows that they kind of give more priority to positive feedback than negative one. So the best idea is to focus more on the negative idea and then improve on what is being said by the customers. If you can look at our key findings here, you will notice that a big majority of the respondents complain about the quality of product. And the quality of product here is talking about what they saw online and what they received during delivery time. So those are the people Kiku needs to listen to and get their point of view on what happened and how it can be improved. So this is a very simple thing to do if you are able to get exactly the picture of what you have instead of having more short pictures. Thank you.
I'd like to add on what Usman has said. When it comes to quality of products, I've noticed a trend that is done by teams such as AliExpress or Alibaba. They give measurements of the products, thereby you know what you're expecting before it comes. You have the right measurements in your mind, so you know what product you're going to get before you make the purchase. So that would be valuable for people.
Just to add on as well, I feel like they should also have like a good refund policy where if the product you receive doesn't match what you ordered, you are obliged or you have the right to, send it back and ask for what you wanted to begin with.
All right. Thank you. Doc, any questions or comments?
You're putting me on the spotlight, right?
Yes.
Thanks, Kwame, for inviting me. Really, I just came in to support, not as a panel member, but just to see what you're doing. Great job too. I've listened to 2 presentations and it's quite exciting. Just a quick question to the presenters who just came out now. On research method, I think this is a research symposium, right? So I just have a quick question around your research method. You say that you use the Google form. I think that's a research tool, not a method. So I just want to find out, maybe you want to say more about what method you actually used and why you chose that particular method and tool for this study.
So our research method, we use Google Form to reach out to ALU students, but before reaching out to the students, we had to come up with our sample size. It was 100 from ALU. Knowing that ALU has up to 1,000 students, we estimated the number of people customers to be around 500,000, and then we use a sample size calculation tool with 95% confidence level, with a margin level of 5%, and then that gives us a sample size of 80. And then out of the 80, we were able to get 75 people who responded to our questionnaires using a Google form.
Yeah, but that sounds more like sampling. I'm asking for the method.
So I think what Doc is trying to say is that you were mentioning the tools you use. You also mentioned the sampling method, right? But there's a difference between the research method and the data collection tools you use. So the tool that you use is the Google form. All right. Yeah. So what is the method?
The method we used was
You remember when we spoke about the difference between methodology, research design, and methods?
So we use the survey to collect qualitative and quantitative data.
So you use the survey method?
Yeah, to collect quantitative and qualitative data after we analyze those data.
And
so
why?
Why? The reason is that we use qualitative data to understand what the challenges that Kiko customers are facing, what kind of challenges they are facing, and we use quantitative data to try to make sure how those challenges affect the delivery services and also the company. And that when we come up that we realize that these are the challenges that they face in the delivery services affect the organization in terms of loss of revenue and others.
All right. Thank you. So I think you have a report, a poster that paints a picture that is very vital for Kiku as a company, right? And I think looking at the general delivery service in Kigali, it's a picture that can be painted more broadly. And there's this huge gap between what is marketed and what is actually presented, quality assurance. So it's something that you can package properly and present to Kiku and see if that can help them improve their services. Thank you very much for your presentation. And now we'll have group 2.
Present. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it. Is it visible?
Yes, but you have to zoom in a bit for us to be able to see the text.
Is that better?
Yes, that's a bit better.
Okay, so hi, everybody. This is group 2, cohort 2. I am Aminata Diallo, and I'm here with my former group members. And today we are presenting on the impact Vuba Vuba can have on the inclusivity of lower social classes. So Vuba Vuba is an online delivery platforms that works for an app that display products from food to supermarket items to flowers and booze, and through which we place an order that offers 3 options of payment, like through mobile money, credit card, or cash on arrival. And it is located in Kigali and recently expanded to Musanze. So the following research aims to explore how Vuba Vuba can have an impact on lower social classes through their inclusion as a target audience, and how the expansion can further benefit Vuba Vuba as well. One interesting thing is that throughout the literature review, there has been noticeable gaps on how Vuba Vuba operates as compared to similar business which expanded over the continent. And in comparison to Vuba, Jumia has made a strategic decision in 2019 to use social inclusion as a means of strategic expansion, and involves entrepreneurs in Africa to invest and create companies that go towards the 4th industrial revolution, which is technology and something that the whole of African country needs to thrive. Therefore, the objective of the research was to collect data on our targeted audience, which is lower social classes, their thoughts, knowledge, and insights of Vuba Vuba, and from that analysis, And from that data collection, analyze a pattern in their thought processes, which could help us build recommendation to the business based on the data analysis. I'm now going to give the floor to my former group member, Credo, who is going to go over the methods and participants. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Aminata. For the methods, we just used an in-face interview with the lower social classes people, especially in Ruyenzi district, which has more farmers. And we included students and unemployed people, local shop owners, but the participants were gender neutral, and we had a sample size of 30 people. So on the methods, we made sure that we gain understanding on how the participants have a background and knowledge information on Vuba Vuba and know their thoughts on insights on what should Vuba Vuba do in a way of getting recommendation on how they feel Vuba Vuba could do better to get access to the lower social classes, on their thoughts of how the business of Vuba Vuba can get in touch with them also. Thank you.
Thank you, Credo. Thank you, Aminata. To go to the point, we had a couple of few questions which led us to the result on the impact what Vuba can have on the inclusivity of lower social classes, where by the all people for targeted market, targeted audience have proved that they go in store to buy food because of different reasons. To cite few, they say that the online delivery food services used to be expensive and they have lack of means to access their services. So therefore, to specifically know, get what impact can Vuba bring, we had to make a research and analysis on how many number of people from the lower social classes who have heard of Vuba before, whereby we find only 2% from our targeted audience have only heard of Vuba. So we proceeded with the reason why people from the lower classes can't and do not use online delivery food services, particularly Vuba, and they gave us a different reason, whereby 90% from our targeted audience have gave a reason of a lack of internet, and 98% have said lack of smartphone to get access to the application used by Vuba, and also 50% have said lack of knowledge to navigate in the application, and 60% lack of awareness. After this result, we made an observation where we found that there is a lack of knowledge of Vuba from the social lower classes and non-introduction to technology and lower income factors of their interest from social lower classes. We've also come with few recommendations whereby we recommend Vuba to create a USSD application for people without smartphone or without internet to access Vuba services, whereby they can click star 999 sharp for them to access their services without requirement of internet.
Another recommendation to really give the business an aspect of giving back to the community was to really market their service in the lower social classes people environment as a way to take local shop owners and put them on a platform of Vuba, and which would incite also the communities to go more towards the use of technology and modernity as well. And on the local owner shop side, it also helps them to expand their business. So it's like a win-win situation for both Vuba and the lower social classes and the community as a whole. So yeah, That's the main insight. Thank you all for listening. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kaidi.
Right. Thank you. I enjoyed the presentation. I like the flow and how you're able to get through everything. I have a couple of questions though. First and foremost, I heard while you were speaking, the second speaker was talking about how you got your data via interviews, and I can see that your method states questionnaire here. I just wanted to clarify which one of them was it via interviews or was it via questionnaires? Because I understand that you're talking about lower social class people in society, right? So I just want to understand that perspective. That's the first thing. Second thing is I'm curious to know how you were able to categorize people under the lower social class, for example. I know you mentioned that farmers, for example. However, they are rich farmers, right? So when you say farmers, how do I know a farmer in that class, for example? There are students who are very rich, who have rich parents, who have means to afford, those kind of things, for example. People who are unemployed, who run their businesses and who are able to do that as well. And shop owners who are actually, so I'm just trying to say that I need to understand how you're able to stratify your lower social class in that perspective, right? That's the second question. I think maybe when you answer those questions, I'll be able to give some other thoughts you might have as regards that.
Thank you for your question. So I'm gonna answer the first question, which is towards the questionnaire to gain. So it was more like an interview to gain first people like background, more as an introduction, to build something with the interviewee. And then from there, ask questions on, so what do you do for a living? What is your working field? Have you ever heard of Vuba Vuba? If yes, what do you think about it? Would you use it? Those type of questions, and then analyze the patterns of thought and compare towards the number that were acquired.
So it was more like an interview, right?
Yes.
So you used interview guides?
Yes. We had an interview guide for
I
that.
noticed we had questionnaire on your presentation, and you mentioned interview. So that's why I wanted to understand which you actually use.
It was an interview.
So to answer the second question is that it was easy for us to classify, to know who is who are the people in lower classes, because in Rwanda we have this classification of social classes called Ubudehe, where we had first to ask which class are you in Ubudehe. If it is D, we will know that is the lower class, and if it is A, we know that is in the upper class. Yeah, that is.
Actually, that's a point that Israel should have been mentioned in the. It's a very interesting point that should have been mentioned in the poster, like the origin of such classification and how that actually impacted what you're doing. So that would have been a very good introduction before we get in, because if you're using that classification, I've never heard of that before. That's very interesting.
Exactly. Thank you. And that's why I asked that question, because the classification you give on your poster does not help me tell how you classify it objectively in that perspective. So it would be good to look at this is your best foot forward. Your best foot is whatever it is, and it would just be good to just take a second to explain what it means so that we understand how it's how it's valued. Because besides saying that now, I would not necessarily not feel your data sample difference in that sense, right? So what I was going to add to that is thinking about the fact that for online platforms we have what we call the push and pull system, right? Where it's a two-way thing, it's a marketplace, right? You have people who sell products who are there on the platform, people who buy products, for example. So there's also the possibility of people who sell on the platform ensuring that they work on inclusiveness in that perspective. So what do I mean, for example, the kind of products they sell, for example, are they, so we'll go through how they have access, right? But are they products that are applicable to them, for example? You can't sell products you can't be selling pizza and burgers and all that and expect that we in that lower class people to buy those things in essence. How are the people that are selling on the platform marketing or putting products that can affect or can entice those in the lower social class to have something that would be beneficial to think about? And I just wanted to mention as well, I like how you put your observations. However, it would have been more interesting because what you have in observation are summarizing in two basic things. The first thing you had on there was the problem of literacy or illiteracy, right? So access to knowing about internet, for example, is about literacy, knowing how to navigate the platform is about literacy and literacy, all of those items you had on your chart. And the second item would be about their income level. That's the second thing, right? So income level covers access to mobile phones, access to data, for example, and other things that would enable them, have access to the platform. And I think that's a different perspective you would have had in that thing. I really like your recommendations. I like the fact that you recommended the USSD platform, for example, and that's a really good one to start with in that thing. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think one last comment or maybe a question is when you're asking a company to invest in a newer market, right? One of the things they would like to hear is what is the benefits that is going to come from that market in terms of numbers, right? What is your estimation in terms of the economic returns or the number of new clients that you're going to get if they expand their scope? Otherwise, they will just expand, but then because those USSD codes and all those things and managing them cost money. So if they expand and you're not getting any returns, and people prefer just to buy from their own circles. So what will be the economic return for them if they decided to invest in this new social class?
Noted. Thank you. Thank you so much for your recommendation.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we'll have the last group, group three. Oh,
Kwame, can I ask you a question as these guys are coming? This is exciting.
Go ahead.
I'm big on inclusivity, inclusion, sense of belonging, and etc. I'm just wondering, what's their definition of inclusivity? How do you know that this person is being included?
Okay. Our perception of inclusivity came from the fact that, first of all, like for everybody to be part of the same platform, that is inclusivity, and also give equal opportunities and chances for people to expand their business and show their product. That is inclusive.
Yeah, I would really challenge you to interrogate that concept. It's a very, very important concept, and even going forward, especially if you are considering to go to grad school, that's a very productive research area at some point. So I'd really encourage you to think of it more critically. I don't think just being a part of a platform is inclusion. Even just being here, that I'm here, does not mean that I'm being included, right? So there are different facets and ways of problematizing it. I would really encourage you. I think it's a very good project that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Doug. So group three, you have 7 minutes and it starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. So good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone, for wherever you are. So we are Group 3 and we are presenting on the market research on the potential customer base for Nappy Woods sharing product and during post-COVID. So getting natural hair products is not an easy task for both women and men that keep their hair in Kigali. That's why we focus our research on Nappy Wood as a hair product salon and boutique that is operating in downtown Kigali. And they started the operation in 2017 after realizing that it was a challenge for people with natural hair to find natural, trusted hair care. Not that the store that sold them did not provide enough guidance on how to use the hair product for effective results, whereby customers are left with seeking for alternative means to get natural hair products. The business was co-founded by 2 women, but to this moment, there are up to 8 full-time employees who work in different departments, which comes along with home services and other range of customer care products. Next, we go by to the next person to present the research question. Thank you very much.
So on our initial interviews with the client indicated that you'd be interested to really understand whether there's a willing and existing market for nappyhood hair products because she had challenges accessing the market that she previously had. She was particularly interested on whether she could actually access the ALU market, especially the new incoming class. And the client was also interested in what services and products can they provide to capture this new market, a larger market, and how exactly they can go about capturing this new market. So in doing this, what was important for us was to really, first of all, understand the market that she was trying to capture. This market ideally is first year incoming students at LU. And in trying to understand them and their preferences, we decided to use a survey. In doing the survey, we used an online questionnaire to collect data and distributed it to a snowball sample. So our population was around, our general population was around 300 first-year students, but with a confidence level of about 90% and maybe a margin of error about 10%, owing to the fact that not all of the 300 would have natural hair in the first place. And that gave us a sample size of 56. But our snowball sample managed to get us to 51 in the time frame that we had, which we felt was enough to allow us to make certain inferences. And some of the major results I think that we got from the survey, when asked what were some of the top challenges they faced with accessing adequate natural hair products or treatments for their hair. The most prominent one was, first of all, if you were to look at that graph there, that they lack adequate information on their hair types and how to actually use it and treat their hair. And the second one was the fact that the prices were too high for the people that she was trying to access. One other result that we find very interesting, when asked whether they would be interested in an online store that deals with natural hair products and gives home-based natural hair treatments, 88% were open, were interested, in fact, to using accessing an online store and accessing information on an online platform, and the rest, about 11.8%, were in the middle. That question was important for us, particularly because we needed to make sure that our client would be able to access this market given the post-COVID, the COVID situation. I'll give to my colleague to take you through the findings.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tepiso. So from the survey that we had, the key findings that we got, first, we found that the biggest challenges most people have with natural hair products is the high prices and the lack of adequate information on hair types and treatments. So like 56% of respondents prefer homemade products delivered online, with 81% indicating that they use homemade products often. So the other key finding was that 86% of the respondents indicated that they would be interested in an online store that deals with natural hair products and give homemade based natural hair treatments. So this shows the availability of the market of hair products that is delivered online. So I would take it to the next group member, Karen.
Thank you, Ben. So our recommendation were three, the finding, and they're tied all together. We believe that all our recommendations are tied together. The very first one, can they challenge actually the prices that are on the market? And the way they can do that is actually producing their own organic products, which would mean that they would make natural products that are found in Rwanda and can actually provide more jobs to other people and collaborate with farmers and produce their own products. So as we can see, the trends in the beauty industry know the ingredients that make the product that they use, and they are really interested in natural products and organic products. Rising. And our last recommendation would be actually to digitalize their a website where they would give information about hair and actually provide their services online. The market is lacking. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Kayode.
Please, can you scroll to the top of your presentation, please? Right. Right. Good. So first and foremost, thank you. I would say that I like the visual outlook of your presentation. It looks really, really good, and you're able to balance the visual with the words, and I will follow you through what you're going through in that section. So thank you for that. That was really commendable as well. A few questions I have for you. So first and foremost, I'm trying to understand. Please double check, right? Are you saying that Nabihood majorly focuses on natural hair products only? Is that it? Tabiso, did you respond?
Karen, can you respond to that question?
So the focus, if I can come in, so the focus on natural hair product only, whereby how they do this is by selling natural hair product at the same time, and also doing a home service or doing a little bit kind of like maintaining their clients or customer here by themselves, whereby they provide services, major services, and they have a salon also.
Okay, thank you for that answer. So I was trying to ask, so if they really focus on natural hair products, I'm wondering, first and foremost, I'm asking, so I know you mentioned while you're talking around, you talked about 300 first-year students. I'm curious to understand why you focused on first-year students, for example, right? To understand what your perspective was on that. Secondly, based on the feedback you gave me right now, we're talking about people who are focused on natural hair products, for example. What was the rationale in not focusing on students who wore natural hair only, or who had a tendency to wear natural hair only? Because that would mean that you would have a more potent sample group in that perspective. And that's the second question I'm asking you. And the third thing is, I know you mentioned, advising them to go through using organic products. Question is it organic product? Are they not more expensive? I mean, wouldn't it mean they are more expensive to really achieve in that perspective, right? In that respect. So that's the question I have for you as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for those questions. I'll tackle the first three questions. So the reasons why we particularly focused on the 300 first-year students as our focal population was because the client actually indicated that they were interested in how to particularly access them. So that came out through our client interviews. They were particularly interested in that, and therefore we decided to focus on creating research, knowledge, and intelligence for her that's focused on this population. The other question was on why don't we then just focus on people with natural hair? Because, well, the reason is the whole point of the research was she wanted to access a new market. So it was important for us to also maybe understand among the people that currently don't have natural hair, how many would be interested in using natural hair products. We wanted to understand perhaps some of them might not have natural hair currently because they have a challenge in accessing natural hair products, which was one of our questions in our survey, which is why we decided not to just focus on people who currently have natural hair. We needed to understand from basically everyone in the population, understanding their interest in natural hair, some of their challenges, if any, with regards to accessing products particularly for natural hair. We think we wouldn't have been able to understand that if we had only focused on people who currently have natural hair, and we wouldn't be able to recommend a new market for our client.
Great, thank you. So one final comment, right, would be, I mean, I know you're talking about, the potential customer base from Napihood.
Yes. I think we lost him. Could it just be me?
So can you repeat the question once again?
Is Coyote still on the call?
Can you hear him or he froze? I think he froze for a bit. Doc, you have a question?
No, thank you.
All right. So I think when Mr. Coyote comes back, we can continue. But I think probably what I would love for you to expand on is, are there any particular examples of natural hair products that we're looking at? And then there was an aspect you were mentioning whether they would be interested in buying natural hair products online. And one of the big things that I noted in the Rwandan market is people's ability to access these online products, actually being able to shop online. So if you have that demographic data about people, their ownership of smartphones, or whether they have smartphones or at all, you can correlate that with their interest in buying online, so that we know that even the percentage that said maybe whether that decision is being influenced by the availability of internet services or a smartphone. All right. Mr. Coyote back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
I had some internet downtime. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, fantastic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can. Right. Go ahead.
Yes, I was trying to ask. I just trying to give a couple of comments to say that first and foremost, it was a good presentation overall. I like the flow. And the last thing I said was, it'd be interesting to understand, what the current or the previous customers of Napihood Salon Hair had as experiences, so that you could learn from the experience to see how you could, use the experience towards potential customers or the new customer be the targeting, for example, and then what exactly was the story like, for example, pre-COVID, because you are targeting a post-COVID situation, right? What was it like pre-COVID? To learn insights from there, because you always believe it's important to learn where you're coming from, to know where you're going to in that perspective, right? So that's something else I think you would have been gain more insight on as well. Thank you. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's the end of it. It's a wrap. You're done with the semester, with your summity, and well done to all of you. You've really, it's been a difficult semester, a difficult year, let's say, for that matter, but you managed to pull through and come up with some ideas that I think the various institutions that you work with, for institution matter, I think Doc is here. So the research on online experience and moving online, you could share it with him, but I will share it as well on our platform so that all the other facilitators could look at your work in terms of what you come up with. And we'll also arrange how you can share the results of your work after we've gone through them. You can share the results with the various institutions that you work with. So well done to you and congratulations. I'm really proud of what you've come up with, and even your projects that you work on, I'm really proud of you. Thank you, Mr. Coyote, for taking on this session with us. And thank you, Doc, for also joining us for this session. We really appreciate your presence, your questions, and your feedbacks. So if there are no comments or questions, that's it. I think we're done for this semester. Thank you, Usman.
Thank you, Kwame, for the term. Thanks to the rest of the class. It was amazing to have you guys here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Kwame. Good luck, everybody, for the rest. Keep on slaying, keep on going. It's not over yet.
I have like one more comment before leaving.
Send money. Guys, send money. Guys, send money.
Send food. Food. What money are you talking about?
Abichi, send food.
Baba, give my extension.
Just a reminder that the session is still being recorded on YouTube.
Those women is Ya Santwa from the Ashantis. She was a woman, a chief negotiator, a skilled farmer, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and most importantly, a commander-in-chief. And this is her story. Circa, what you would call Ghana today, in 1840 welcomed the birth of a baby girl, which would lead one of the biggest revolutions ever held in Circa. She was born in the family of traditional rulers. Her brother, Nana Akwasi, who was the leader, appointed her the role of head of diplomatic missions, the chief negotiator of treaties in the kingdom. Her story is known because of the Asante War, for well before that she held a powerful place within the kingdom, a very skilled farmer, and as a queen mother, her main responsibility was to be the golden stool protector. The golden stool, an emblem of the Ashanti kingdom, a power to their kingdom. To be appointed as its protector means that Ya Santawa righteousness, character, and patriotism was well recognized. As a protector of the golden stool, her role was to suggest candidates for the position of chiefdom and leader, making sure to protect the place of ruler